and welcome to FGC Philosophy. This is where we level up inside and outside the virtual arena, and we do that by talking about topics that I feel are important. Today's topic is going to be around the area of discipline. Not just why it's important for fighting games, but also why it's important for life in this weird pandemic, post-pandemic world that we're living in. Before we get into that, though, I have my guest as well, Mega Max Star. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you, man?
Not too bad. Keeping busy, trying to level up and stay focused in this world, which is why I want to talk about this. But what's going on with you? Anything new you want to talk about?
Nothing too crazy. Just figuring out where I'm taking the next step of my lifestyle right now. So it's an interesting spot that I'm in, but I'm hoping the best for it, honestly.
I hear you. Yeah, I think part of this topic was inspired because for me, like mental discipline is incredibly important, and it's so much harder to have in this lifestyle that we have where we have to stay home most of the time, how we interact with people. There's all this new change and online and offline. So I found myself getting more and more distracted or more challenging to actually focus on certain things. And so I think for me, I had to kind of rebrush up and check in on how to have a more disciplined mind while also the parallel of learning a new character in Street Fighter. And so that's kind of my mindset right now. But for you, what's been your biggest challenge with like mental discipline?
Yeah, I've been having a hard time actually, like finding myself being a lot more productive day to day. I've been finding myself like randomly one day or another just be like, yeah, I'm not gonna do like anything today, or like there might be like a slight thing that happens and it's like, all right, this is a lazy day today. So it's kind of crazy because I'm trying to learn to be a lot more productive about myself now that quarantine has still been going on for a decent amount, and I want to try and like keep myself motivated here. It's very difficult, but I'm getting there step by step.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm moving basically to a work from home kind of lifestyle, and I'm making enough money to sustain for right now, but it's not something that is completely sustainable unless I increase activity, my output. And so trying to figure that out while also having a kid and only having 2 days, he's at daycare for 2 days. So there's 2 days on the weekdays that I can kind of figure this out, or I have to do it later at night. And I find that mental distraction is like, there's so much new stuff going on that it's hard for me to make sure that I maintain thinking about the right things. Because now when I have free time, I'm more inclined to just kind of chill out, or play a game or something like that, which is fun and I enjoy it. But for someone who has to work from home, it's important that I utilize my hours, my minutes very wisely before I do anything that's more in the fun category. Like, I definitely love having fun, but my mind is so burnt out from all the new stuff going on that I've had to check myself and be like, hey, how wisely am I using my time right now? Am I setting aside time for fun, or am I just trying to get it when I can and not really consciously keeping track of how much time I'm putting in? That's not for everybody, but I find for me, I have the best mental clarity when I block out my time. At work, you have certain things that you do. You have a process that you either follow or you create it out of necessity. At home, it's a little bit more challenging. I think a lot of us are adjusting to that, and for me, I think one of the first things that helped me out was getting on a calendar, like using a calendar to schedule my time. And you wouldn't think initially that your focus would be affected by just scheduling your time. But in my experience, I found that if I know what I'm doing and I know the other things that I feel like I need to get done, or quote unquote, like need to get done, then, I think about those things when it's time to think about those things, rather than stressing about them or being distracted. Because a lot of times throughout the day, I'm thinking about other things on top of what I'm doing currently, which is basically multitasking. And that's proven to be ineffective, but it's something that everyone still does in America. Like, we have the science to prove that multitasking is actually detrimental to your mental focus, to your attention span, to your productivity, but we still do it. We still put it on our resumes and stuff like that. Anyway, Main point is, I found that one of the first things that helped me out was like having some sort of consistency throughout my day and my week.
Yeah. Something that made me think about like something that you can compare it to. Also, I might just steal that idea from you, like entirely, is the whole calendar thing. Um, but it's like I used to, go to the grocery store without a grocery list, and I just kind of like hope to remember that I would get the stuff I would need. But I'd come home and be like, I forgot to grab like milk, or I forgot to grab like whatever. But then once I started actually like writing down a list on my phone, then I was like, okay, I'm actually like I'm staying on task here, and I'm able to get like what I need. I'm definitely thinking about. I'll probably set up like a to-do list that actually might help me a lot more to be a little more productive day by day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because I'm a very bad procrastinator. One of the worst, I would say.
You got to compete with me. Oh man, dude, the list thing you're talking about, I relate to that very much so. I was that person that would go shopping and not have a list, and it's so common sense to just go with the list, but then you just like, I don't know if it's a macho thing or if it's just like a lazy thing for us, but like, yeah, I just took a while.
It's like while you're at home, you're like, right before you go out, just write down the list, because I will always forget something. It's always just like one random thing. It's like, oh, I should have grabbed that. And I'm not going back to the store. No, man.
I have to start building it kind of throughout the week, because when I sit down to think about, okay, what do I need? I can't think of anything. And like that's part of the issue. So I'm just like, I'll just write it down when I'm out of something. I'm like, yeah.
I'm pretty bad. I'll just wait till I'm all out of everything, and then I'm like, all right, time to restock.
I feel that. That's kind of like the college lifestyle.
Yeah, it really is though.
Kind of the parallel to that is, I've talked about this several times in the podcast, but I found my journey with learning Kareen to be one that is a good analogy for this, because it's hard to fully elaborate, but I find that practicing the hit confirm specifically with Kareen, like practicing the hit confirm and then converting that into damage, and focusing on my reactions, like that character is good at that because it rewards you being able to hit confirm. Like that's basically how that character is built. But I've never really played a character like that, and if I did play a character that was supposed to focus on that, I didn't focus on that. So I've never had that skill really. Like it was very minimal. I'd have to use multiple hits to do it, but I never looked at like a one button hit confirm. That's kind of like next level for me. And I think possibly that's challenging for several people. I'm not really sure, but I finally can do it to like more than 50%. I'd say I'm over the 50%. It feels less random. I still drop it sometimes, but when I do confirm, I feel like I did confirm and I didn't just commit to a combo and go through. Because you get punished really hard if you mess up your hit confirms with that character as well. Right. So you have to you live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing.
Yeah, if you're trying to do a combo in the middle of a block string, you're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah, and so I've not really shied from the topic, but my strategy right now with learning Kareen is to just focus on hit confirms and spacing. I'm not going to worry about mix-ups just yet. I'm not going to worry about like meaty too much just yet. I know I'm going to lose matches because of it, but because I know I'm going to, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to get salty about it, and I'm going to focus on trying to get as good at hit confirms as I can until I feel like I can move on to something else and just like touch up on this from time to time. It doesn't feel like I'm there yet, and I'm still winning matches and doing stuff like that. And along the way, I will practice certain things. Like I'm not going to not practice them or attempt them in a match, but most of my training time is like hyper focusing on these set of skills that make this character very strong. But also I'm personally interested in. Like I'm not really trying to play Kareen to win tournaments or anything. I'm playing it as an experiment, as a way to see how I can learn a specific skill that I've always had issues with, and just how far I can get with that character. And then if I enjoy the character enough, then I'll practice the other areas as well. So it's been like a really, what's the word? Like not non-committal, low pressure for me. Like I'm just having fun doing it. I'm not trying to win tournaments.
Low risk reward or kind of thing, or like, yeah, I guess no pressure is probably what you're looking for.
Right. So it's just been fun, and like I just feel like I'm learning because I'm not getting salty about it if I lose, and like I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to land as many hit confirms as I can in a match, and like I'll get
Right.
myself up for like dropping a combo or something. But that I'm just motivating myself to remember to do these things without like berating myself, like crossing that line, you know?
Right. You're more focused on completing your own goal than actually like, winning the game, and you're not like letting the game take stress over you in that sense.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, like, it's a character that you're not too like you don't know all that well. Not like Fawn, right? Where if you played against somebody who's playing, their main, and you're playing Kareen, if you get a couple rounds out of them, you're like, damn, nice. And if you lose, you're like, well, that's not too bad, because I honestly think I did pretty well for me playing Kareen. Like that's kind of like what you're going at, and I think that's a pretty good like mental to go for, because if you're playing like a secondary or a tertiary character, like try not to compare yourself to your main.
I did that for a little bit with other characters.
Right, it's not a character that you've put as much time into, and it might not be a character that you're as interested in or really more like inclined to play. Maybe you're playing it for learning's sake. Maybe you're playing it just to like work on your hit confirm, something like that. So something like that is like a goal to look at, and something that I think people can look at differently when they're like thinking of secondaries or just trying different characters, is the fear of just losing rather than actually just like focusing on what you can do with those characters versus what you weren't able to do with your others and what you can accomplish there.
Yeah. To add on to that, I feel like a lot of people they feel some type of way, or they react negatively, or they even wind up quitting fighting games because of the classification of their goal, like how they set their goal. Their goal is win. If I win, I'm good. If I lose, I'm bad. Like that's some mindsets that people actually have, and rather than focusing on something that's more constructive, like for me, it's how many hit confirms can I do, how good did I convert that damage. How was my spacing? Was I actually like whiff punishing and stuff like that, or was I just kind of being unga bunga and getting, just doing good damage and landing, focusing too much on hit confirms? Because while I do want to get good at hit confirms, you have to also not develop bad habits. Not to get to the point to where you're developing bad habits that you have to like correct later on. So there's a fine line there, but. The classification of the goal is just I can focus on something that I can actually control. I can control how many times I land a combo. I might have to actually get a hit in, but if I focus on hit confirms, every time I get a hit, I can convert that into damage. That's very valuable. But if I just focus on winning and losing, then I just get frustrated, and I'm focusing on trying to win rather than trying to get good at something specific. And so it's like this weird self-revolving door. I know we've gotten somewhat off tangent, but I feel like this was a really, like, you made a really good point, and I want to really elaborate on that.
Actually, at our locals last week, Musketeer came by, which was one of our top Dragon Ball players. Like, I think he's probably like one of the top players for Dragon Ball. He doesn't compete. I mean, I guess tournaments really haven't been popping around like that much in a national scale, but once they do, like, look for this guy. He's up there. And I was more focused on playing with him because I know he's way better than me. Way better. But going into the games, I was focused on, like, a lot of my issues that I've had before with him was getting out of block strings, like, against him, and then also, like, getting hits or doing good block strings, getting the hits and then confirming those hits into combos, and that was all I was focused on. And I didn't win any games. However, I was very satisfied with myself because I played a lot better. I could tell my growth from the last time that we played, which was a while back, like kind of around the time when COVID started. Like around the middle of that point, we were playing like some online sets, and I could tell how much I've changed as a player just because I'm able to actually get in, deal with a lot of his mixes and block strings, and it just felt better. I felt good about myself. Like, I wasn't even mad that I lost. I was a lot more happy the fact that like I was actually like, I could see my improvement from playing him. And then he also complimented me by saying my reflex were actually on point, which is a great compliment that I can have.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was my goal, and I was pretty happy with it at the end of the day. So, there was also something I also wanted to bring up. So, Sir the Third, Vernon, and I, we used to do a thing to help us kind of get us out of our comfort zones for Dragon Ball, to help us learn the game a little better. We both chose each other teams. Like, we made teams for each other. And we were forced to learn these characters. We made like small rules, like you can swap one character out or something like that. But it had to be characters that we do not play, we did not play at all, and characters that like we had to learn. And that gave us an opportunity to learn new strings, like get out of our comfort zone over characters that we have, and like kind of stop our habits from our other teams. Because like I used to have a really bad habit of constantly super dash assisting, and I still do, because I mean it works for the most part with some assists. However, that was a lot of my in. But then when I was using a team that just didn't have something like that, I focused more on like actually using neutral to get in, and then actually having a block string. And funny enough, because we did that, Vernon found Beerus as one of his mains. So
okay,
it's something interesting to do, just because it puts you out of your comfort zone, makes you learn different stuff about characters, and it also gives you character knowledge too. There's a bunch of bonuses or benefits that you can get out of doing something like that, and it was fun regardless.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like getting out of your comfort zone. So I'm gonna try to bring it around, bring it all the way back to the point. But I agree with everything you said. Like everything you said that I completely agree with. Like being able to, well, the thing for you is that you guys kind of had what's called a accountability partner, right? You had a motivation for doing something new and getting out of that comfort zone, right? Playing those new characters. A couple of tips that we're kind of just throwing out there for free is, having somebody that has a similar goal to you can be helpful in helping you maintain like a disciplined lifestyle or a disciplined mind. Like it could be, you guys motivate each other to learn new characters, motivate each other to, go jogging or some sort of exercise towards career goals, whatever it may be. But that's kind of a point or a tip that you kind of unintentionally mentioned, and I 100% think that's also a good point as well.
Having a coach or a rival that
Yes.
you definitely can have matching goals with helps a lot.
So I want to make sure I give enough help to people and try to remember everything that I think is useful for this, because it's like on one side I want to talk about the challenges that we're both having, but I also want to have lessons and explain why a disciplined mind is even important. And some of the stuff that you talked about and that we talked about, that I talked about, is it's helpful to be able to choose what you're thinking about, and that's not always easy. Like I have ADD, I'm diagnosed with it. I've in the past taken medication for it. Now I just try to meditate and exercise to help with that, and that's been successful. But in doing that, I'm very, very aware of like when I'm distracted, or I try to always be aware of when I get distracted and how long I've been distracted. It's just a habit I've formed over time because of being distracted so often. And fighting games have been one of the hugest challenges for me to maintain my attention span with, because it's every microsecond in that game is important. Like it's 60 frames in a second. You really have to be aware of sometimes all of those frames. And if your mind wanders for just a millisecond, it can throw off a lot, and you can lose damage or you can lose an opportunity. And then if you get angry at something, you get distracted, you're focusing on that. I dropped this combo, oh, I'm bad, this character's so overpowered, why do I have to fight them, yada, 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 yada. You're not thinking about the match. You're stuck on all that. And I've done that before, for sure. I've gotten mad at people, or mad at myself and distracted and stopped making good choices. So to kind of slow down my speaking a little bit, I think that, I'm very, very passionate about this, obviously, but it's something that a lot of people also struggle with, just maybe in a different way. And I think that maybe a lot of people don't know. I didn't know for the longest time that I could actively increase my attention span or improve it. I didn't know I could level it up, so to speak. And for people who don't know that, you can. Unless there's some sort of diagnosis that you have proving that you can't improve your mental habits, I'm fairly certain that it's possible for you, for anybody. It definitely has been for me. And it's not easy by any means, but I think it's important to be aware of the fact that, like, you can practice things that improve the way you think and the way, how disciplined your mind can be. Because for me, bring it back to Kareen, sitting down and just focusing on hit confirms sometimes could be incredibly boring, but I did it anyway just because I wanted to put in the time. And
right.
When I did that, I realized that it was easier for me to maintain focus because I knew what to focus on. I guess, when playing her, I'm trying to make some sense of how to play the character. I find that I feel like I have more control when I just focus on the things that I know how to do, and then try to pay attention and observe the other areas so that, when I do develop better skills in those areas, I at least have some information to work with and can already form a strategy. But for now, I can just do this one thing and try to do it very well. And then obviously practicing combos, I feel like that's just part of the nature. So you do have to practice your combos, and that's, understood. But I also, because I know those combos so well, I know what the knockdown is. And even though I'm not focusing on meaties, I'm aware of the ones that I have, and I still try to do them when I can and when I remember. But I'm forming this strategy while hyper focusing on this one topic. And for someone who struggles with attention span, I find that if I can pick one thing to really hone in on, it's easier for me to do that rather than, I can do multiple things. My mind is really fast. It can bounce from topic to topic to topic, but I feel like I get less done as quickly. It's not as efficient because I'm kind of switching from topic to topic. My mind kind of resets. And I really need to find the article. There's a couple different studies on this and how multitasking affects your mind, and how every time you switch topic, you kind of hit like a reset button, and you have to kind of get momentum again to get into the quote unquote zone of thinking about that thing.
Yeah, actually, so I've been watching a lot of Sejam recently. He actually talked about this in a couple of his videos and
nice.
On his like Twitch streams, where whenever he's learning a new game, he will pop up the training, pop up the tutorials, play through them, and then he'll go into the training mode, grab a character he likes, play that character, learn their block strings and their hit and their like combos, and then go straight to online. Like nothing else, nothing more, just go straight to online. He plays what he knows, and then you use that you've practiced, and you try to get your confirms, you make it work, and then you keep it very simple and just straight through. And then you use that as an opportunity to learn what you're playing against, like why some things work, why some things don't, and it also lets you learn a little more about the system mechanics of the game and how to play the game in a better sense. The more that you try to compile information upon information for yourself for games, or for learning a character or just practicing in general, the more difficult it's going to be. You have to kind of streamline it. You have to start somewhere small and not be afraid of losing, and just going online, playing, and then seeing what's working and what's not working, and then go on from there. Hey, you know what? My block strings weren't working. I think I should probably try something else to mix it up more. Or, actually, I don't know how to do this combo for a wall bounce setup. Let me actually try and going into the lab, and I'll start doing a wall bounce, and we'll see if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, where you just use training mode as a solution to your problems rather than using it as let me learn everything I can while I'm able to.
I just had a thought. I feel like people should treat fighting games like Souls games. Just expect to lose and learn from the experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's sadistic, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something also. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but if if you're playing fighting games, prepare to lose. Like, just, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but you're gonna lose a lot, and that's okay. Use those losses. It doesn't matter how many times you lose. You know, like some players that I've played against at a casual level or local level, I have way more losses against than I do wins, but I'm fine with that because every game that I play that I win or lose, that's more experience under my belt. That's something in the game that I understand. It's something that I know about. You just have to be prepared for something like that and actually like keep your mind in a certain mindset that losing is okay, and take what you gathered from your losses and learn from where you can go from there, like why you lost or what you did wrong and what you can do to improve upon that. But keep it, streamlined. Obviously, try not to jumble it all into one big mess. It's like, I'm having a hard time with my hit confirms. Let me go into a training mode and let me work on my hit confirms, and then just go back online, see if it works, and then new problem arises, back and forth, rinse and repeat.
Yep, 100% agree. I think that what we talked about was very useful, and I think that you have to be disciplined because there's mental discipline and then there's physical discipline, and I feel like physical discipline is having the willpower to sit down and do the things you don't want to do to get the results that you want. And then mental discipline is actually like being able to mentally be aware of what you're doing without, with minimal mental distractions. And both of those things are, important to do. And you over time, you build the habits by just doing them over and over again to the point to where it's like automatic. And it's the same thing with, your focus. And I talk about this all the time, but the best analogy or best example is meditation. Because meditation in itself can be a very frustrating thing depending on how people measure the success of meditation. If you measure it as just sitting still for 10 minutes, it's a somewhat easy thing to do for most people unless you have ADHD, where your body has to move. Someone with ADD, I can do that and make it a challenge for myself. Or there's people who, they try right off the bat to just get into the meditation zone, to go into that Zen area in your mind, or see your third eye, like however you want to look at it, right? Get enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. It's a practice, and one of the most simple ones is just being able to count your breath and then being able to count backwards from 100 without losing track of your number. Now that sounds simple, but it's incredibly difficult to maintain counting backwards from 100 without thinking about something else that lasts long enough for you to forget where you were, and then every time you do, you start over. That's hard for a lot of people to do, and it's frustrating. And then people say, "I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't meditate," and it's because they think meditation is being able to achieve that goal, but meditation is just practicing that goal. And there's never a trying to achieve with like meditation. Like meditation itself is a practice. There's no end game to it. It helps and is beneficial for multiple reasons. And so, focusing on just counting is challenging for so many people, but after you practice that over and over again, it gets easier. It's the same thing with practicing emotional control or practicing any area, any mindset that you might have that you might need a tweak in, because sometimes we think things and they're not helpful to ourselves. But once we learn that we can choose what we think about, or practice choosing what we think about, because we get stressed out, and there's science behind the fact that if you get stressed out, you go into a different mode. You kind of have a default mindset of when you're stressed, and so you can kind of tweak that over time. But that's my soapbox I'll get off of. If you have any other closing points you want to make.
Honestly, just try to keep your focuses one thing at a time. Try not to jumble all of these things together. Just be patient, take your time. It's not like, the grand finals of your super big tournament is coming up or something. Like, you'll learn the game when you learn the game, and some people might take longer times to learn than others, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It might take you 1,000 games. It might take somebody else 100, but as long as you keep that commitment, as long as you stay strong, even in the hours of a tough time, you can still take a break. There's nothing wrong with that either. But just keep at it, and you will see the results. You might think you're at a plateau, but you will see it over time.
There you go. Perfectly said. Last question or questions is where can people find you if they want to get some sets with you?
Alrighty, so if you want to get sets, you can tweet at me, twitter.com/megamaxstar. I also have a YouTube, youtube.com/megamaxstar, as well as my Twitch. I might start streaming some Dragon Ball or Runeterra sometime soon here, so that's going to be something very exciting. But if you ever want to hit me up, probably my Twitter is the best place that you can grab me.
Perfect. All right, and then the last thing other than that is I believe they're still happening, but the Mighty Moto Monday tournaments for Dragon Ball and Street Fighter. Like the Street Fighter one happens on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, so I'm still hosting the Mighty Moto Mondays for Dragon Ball Fighter Z. They are on Mondays. Find them on Smash GG. We usually host them around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Kind of pay attention to that. And honestly, as long as your internet connection is good, you can play from anywhere. Like, we have people playing from Florida and New Mexico, and we're technically based in Michigan. We kind of want it to be a pretty open community. We want people to come and play, so feel free to come in anytime.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a pretty diverse amount of players, so it's pretty cool because a lot of them get sets before and after the tournament, so you get to play with a bunch of people from all over the world, even though it's the Kalamazoo FGC, which is pretty awesome. And then lastly, I'll have my social media stuff in the description. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Also, thank you to my Patreons as well for doing what you do. Greatly appreciate it. If you want to go to the Patreon, I'll have links down below. Other than that, thank you guys so much, and we will see you in the next one.